Good morning. I am higher vibrations, and so are you. And Guardian's here. I'm kind of giving you the chance to say good morning or whatever it is that you want to do. Your
Yeah,
greetings.
good evening. We somehow managed to gobble together this event. Technology, electricity, the magnetic grid is like not with us. Like on my end, we've been experiencing the electricity was going in and out for the past 4 hours, and now we have electricity. Wow, we don't have internet, so I'm on my phone. That's why you can see me this way. I hope people can hear me well. So for the past 20 minutes, I thought this will not work, but we are here. So it's a Christmas miracle or something. And also, I think you've been experiencing the same stuff on your end, and you're like on the other half of the planet. So
Yeah, when you told me that you're having difficulty, I was like, that's bizarre because you're in Transylvania and I'm in Arkansas, US. And the
yeah,
reason for it here is we have a crazy windstorm moving through. There's areas all
yeah,
it
here
this
too. We've been having crazy wind for 2 days now. So wow, things are moving quite a bit.
Interesting. I love comparing notes. I don't think that they expect us to do that across continents, you know.
Yeah,
Um, and so when there's more connection between different countries, they're like, oh, like for instance, did you see that? All these different countries are all putting on their headline that their country is twice as hot as every other country on the planet. But Australia is saying it, Canada is saying it, the UK is saying it. Every country are putting it up, or not every. This example was like, I think there was 6 or 9 different examples. And it's like, I don't ever watch the news, but I saw that put together. And that's one of those things. It's like, that's why we don't listen into the news, is that the news is meant to is design the way that they present it is to try to get you to believe something that may or may not be real, right?
and
So
it's
that's
usually something fear-based. The world is ending. Like I don't know, like I always hear this damn story. I'm so sick of it, of this. Oh, an asteroid almost hit Earth, or maybe in 20 years we are going to be hit by a ball of rock or something, and oh my God, and like, oh, cut it out already.
I
Like,
know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's ridiculous. It's the fear porn. That's what I call it. It's fear porn.
yeah.
Is Thank you, Struth Ruth, for saying that you can hear. Is the volume equal? Like, does my volume sound about the same loudness as Guardians? I can change it on my end if you'd let me know. I'd really appreciate it. And then Jules said the winds of March, known as the windiest month, and they call it March Madness for a reason. And here we are, right? We're in this all kinds of stuff. Last night, the lunar eclipse. Uh, Along with the meteor shower, though we didn't really see it. The chemtrail people came in a couple hours before. I saw them going through and making their chemtrails. I was like, oh, they're going to try to hide it from us. I didn't get to see the meteor shower, but the moon was bright enough we could see it as it went through its different phases. So that was cool. It's also today Pi Day, the day of many numbers. And so we Venus went into what retrograde and on the 1st, and now tomorrow Mercury is going into retrograde, so they'll both be in retrograde at the same time. Also, we have like I don't know how many Kazimis this month. I think there's 6. I've lost count. We're also have been in a geomagnetic storm for I think 6 days now. The part that we're in is considered the solar shock wave of all of this stuff that came off. Being that we're so close to the equinox, all of the stuff that comes off the sun is perfectly Earth direct. So that explains a lot of what we're all experiencing. We're probably all going to have a lot more ascension symptoms right now, or may not. It
Yeah.
depends on how yeah. How have you been feeling? What's been up with your world regarding that kind of stuff?
In my world, yeah, like people are very a lot sick, but very much tired, having joint issues and any type of like I don't know, like symptoms that they're having usually, or something that they've been struggling with many years, is like coming up and intensifying. Like I myself, I'm feeling pretty damn well. But yeah, like there has been some stuff for coming up for me as well that I've been processing, which is some very deep stuff. So, which is not going to go away very easily. Like we could talk about that later too as well. Maybe
Okay.
it will resonate with some people out there.
Right. Yeah, I've been having that same thing too, where it's just like some of the ascension symptoms or the things that I had going on before that had resolved themselves started to come up, as well as what you were just alluding to that we can go into later. Um, I've been calling it it's similar to end of life review. Not to say that that's what it is. It seems similar to it, where it's like all of this stuff from your life is being presented to you to look at in a more, I don't know, objective way. It feels a completeness of it. Something else happened though, because you always say you wanted to talk about that later, so I shouldn't have gone into it right now, I guess. um, uh, Something happened last night, and I wanted to talk about this. This is like huge. That okay, so of course we stayed up and watched the lunar eclipse, and right after it was done was, I was already tired enough to go to bed before then, but I really wanted to stay awake for it. So we as soon as it was over, I was heading to bed, and I noticed all of a sudden I had all kinds of different stuff going on with my body. Like I felt slightly nauseated. I was having like cold sweats, kind of like fever, and just feeling, I had some acid reflux stuff going on, just weird stuff that I don't typically experience. And I was just like, I'm just going to bed, and while I was laying in bed, I started to do energy work on myself, which we all usually will do if we're not feeling good, right? You kind of transmute that energy. And one of the practices that I have been doing for a while now is you go into one of your roots or one of your chakras, and you find the root of that chakra, and you find a whole plethora of other chakras. And then you can kind of explore in there. But if you go far enough, then you find yourself coming out the other side to the cosmos. So you go within your body, and you go far enough down, and then all of a sudden you come out to an alternate universe. It's the most bizarre and cool experience. Though typically I'll only go to then find myself on Earth, but a different version of Earth. I'll embody myself and kind of do some work. And then I will, come back up. But for one reason or another, last night, I felt like going then from that body into the same chakra and going even deeper. And when I did that, all of a sudden, all of my guides, all of them at the same time, stop, come back. And I was like, oh, and it actually took a bit of work for me at first. And then all of a sudden they pulled me back. Like I was immediately back in presence. I was very deep in trance. And for me to come back so abruptly, and what I got was I was choosing to leave. When I would, and it made me think of Guardian, your experience. Like you had something very similar happen at one point. And I was
Yeah.
wondering if you wanted to oh, sorry, excuse me. Go ahead. I have a delay.
Oh, I thought you were talking to Maddie or something.
No,
Oh, okay. Yeah, like, should I share the experience? I had it in 2013, I believe.
please.
Um, I'm not going to go into all the details, but yeah, I've been experiencing and doing some energy work prior to that event. And at the beginning, I was to do stuff, I was using my own body's vital energy instead of bringing in source creative energy and like channeling that for my energy work. So I
Mm-hmm.
did some stuff that used up quite a bit of my own physical energy, and it did something that I was like leaking, or at least, yeah, I was losing my vital energy basically,
Mm-hmm.
like very slowly, but I was like being drained, or I was like losing it completely. And after 3 or 4 days, I was like feeling that all my strength is gone. I wouldn't say the will to live, but like, yeah, all my physical strength was gone. I was just like fading away physically. Like that was kind of what I was feeling. And thank God no one was at home. I laid down on the bed, and there was this cartoon called Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's like a complete episode dedicated to like clearing all the chakras, which is a very good. I mean, it's a bit old because it's like a kid's cartoon, but it's very good. So the information is there, and like that came up in my mind while I was like this super fading away state, basically. And I did cleared all my energy centers, like going from down to the highest.
Mhm.
And the last one was basically the crown chakra, which is like opening you up to cosmic energy. And I believe like the blockage there is to like release all your earthly attachments, I think. And when I did that, I also released my attachment to my physical body too. And when I did that, I started to like almost like gravity, like pulling me up from my body. And the source of the gravity was the sun, basically. So I was like being pulled into the sun, and through the sun, I was like seeing this very complex highway of energy of like connecting all the stars together. And I was like flowing through that pathway across the stars to the center of the galaxy, where I was entering an even greater light. And when I was entering that light, I started to feel that my body, yeah, like I started to lose sensation in my body. Like it started at the extremities, like my fingers, toes. I've had this feeling of like thousands of needles, like puncturing my fingers, then my feet, then my legs, like creeping up on my arms, and when it like started to like come towards my body. I mean, like the torso. And all of a sudden, like almost someone like came in and like, no, like stop. And someone like grabbed me from behind and like threw me back into my body. And when I came back, I was perfectly fine. Like everything, like I don't know, like I guess I had like a reset button or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like after that, I didn't have this energy leaking problem, and I felt pretty damn good. So whatever they did, they put me back together very well.
Yeah. That's awesome. I've actually gone back and found that. Guardian, you first sent that to me a while back, and then my daughter recently has found Avatar. And so it's the cartoon has been like playing in our house a lot lately. And um, I've I'm just going to say this. There's a not a disclaimer or anything, but I didn't have the experience that Guardian did. It wasn't, and that when I did the Avatar thing, I found it to be very useful. So if you are looking for it, by the way, it's the last episode of season 2. So it's of Avatar, this like the cartoon series from Nickelodeon back in the '90s. I love that they played they lay the groundwork for uh, everyone. Like you can go back and find a lot of these clues and codes in these earlier things. Um, I find that to be really a close comparison to what I had experienced as well. Like um, something was being purged from my body, and when I started to do the work on it, I just was doing too good, and then I kind of found that I was elevating above my more away from my body than I'm ready to be. I'm not ready to go anywhere. Like we got stuff to do, man. And so it felt very much like all of the collective of the team body, team, my light team, all kind of at the same time stepped in and said, like, basically, what are you doing? you know, um, I can say that right after I had done that, however, uh, I feel I'm kind of feel like I'm not really connected to my body. Like I'm like floaty. Like, how you kind of like don't feel like you can focus really well or something. But for the most part, all of the symptoms I was having before went away, by the way, immediately. Like I'm all the way better. Like I don't have any more of those Ascension symptoms I was experiencing before. I had a really intense headache. Like it was hurting before all this. And when I came back, The headache was clear. In fact, I was wide awake. I was like, I could go clean the house, but I stayed in bed because it was late and I needed to go to sleep. But it's really fascinating that we have such a... So have you done anything like that since? Like, have you learned how to, instead of doing it so in depth, have you learned how to reset your body in a gentler way? Or is that something that we still need to explore as a population?
I'm not sure. Like I do my recalibrations, of course, but yeah, like it's none of them are that potent. I think like there are like these special events in our lives that are like super exceptional and super transformative and very potent, and like things work then very intensely. And just in general life, when in our everyday lives, it doesn't really work that way. So I'm not sure. I haven't really found the master key to the whole thing.
Yeah.
There are like these. I think like all of us have these moments in our lives when something very important is happening, and like all of a sudden you just like know what you need to do, and like all these intense energies are like coming through you, and you're able to do incredible stuff all of a sudden, very potent, in a very potent manner, but you would not be able to repeat it
Yeah.
because it's not necessary the next day or the next time something comes up. I find it's more like dependent on like what is needed at that time, and like we just like let things come through and channel that energy in the proper way, rather than like us from the ego perspective like forcing things to happen, because
Right.
the high realms doesn't work like that. So you can't force things to happen. You have to allow things to happen.
Right.
That's the secret to it, and like that means usually that things that happen are not necessarily what you want to happen, but what you need to happen, basically, or what you need at that time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's true for all things within spirit. Like I learned that at first. It took a while to learn that, where it's like, because you show up, um, expecting when you're connecting with spirit to get to fill a list. This is what I want you to answer. I want to know about this. Tell me about that. And it's you always get what you need and not necessarily what you want. And it's hard
Yeah.
to kind of grasp at first, isn't it?
Yeah, in the beginning, I had those two, especially when I had like hypnotic regression and I had all these questions, and like the answer was like, honey, you're not ready yet, so
Yeah.
please be patient.
Right.
And after a time, I found out on my own, so all the information will come at the proper time, basically.
Right. Well, we have a couple of things coming up in the chat. If we draw our attention to it for a second, a lot of people are talking about their teeth, and there was a thing here. Joyce says Mila and Zoltan Guardian may have a good answer to that one. I do know each tooth is connected to a certain organ of the body, and I can add my limited information to that is I don't know what each tooth is. You can look it up. I know you can like just do a simple internet search and find the answer to that question. However, I know that all oral and dental health is directly connected to the heart. I know that, and so like for instance, when I'm getting heart palpitations, I'll notice there's a pulse in my gums, like a pulse. And I'll find that I have found that for me, regulation of heart uh, is usually the need for more Celtic salt or pink Himalayan salt. There's that all the minerals that are within that those salts. There's 82 minerals in a Celtic salt, and our body makes up 92 minerals. We're called the ocean's called an isotropic uh, um, product or body. I can't remember because solution because it's the same as our bodies. You and me, all of us have the same makeup of the same amount of minerals. And so the thing is, though, is that we have storehouses of these minerals starting at birth, and eventually we slowly exhaust our storehouse, and we need to fill those back up again. And many of those minerals are found in salt. So that's a solution I have found for any kind of stuff regarding that. But do you have more to input regarding that topic, Guardian?
Oh yeah, like just on a side note regarding the teeth being connected to the heart, I just remembered I heard this like years ago, so it may not be accurate, but I think there are like some kind of practices also which connect the heart with the tongue, like that's in the mouth too, because like when we are a fetus and we're like developing, like the tongue, like you can see it in the mouth, but it's like a much larger muscle that like very strongly like goes down here. And theoretically, like when we're developing in the womb, like the tongue muscle is like connected to the heart in a way. So it's a very interesting coincidence there
I never
too.
considered that. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, I also just started using Celtic salt, so I'm very interested how it will work out. But yeah, I also felt I need some extra minerals there. But yeah, like also regarding teeth, I found that whenever these, like essential symptom problems with the teeth come up, like how do you call it? Like I don't know, like when you put oil in your mouth, like flushing with
Oil
oil, or how do
pulling.
you call it?
Oil
Yes,
pulling.
yes, pull, yes, pulling with oil. I like to use coconut oil for that. And whenever I have like pressure or stuff come up, I just use coconut oil like twice a day, and it really helps. Like at least in my case.
Yeah.
So try it out as well. Like I think like in also in India and also in the Vedic culture, like they didn't really brush their teeth. They had this like cleansing their mouth with oil. I
Yep.
think you can use also sesame seed oil if you want. I think that's what they've been using back
They
then.
use, you can use
Yeah,
the
it's works
sticks
yeah, well.
instead of a toothbrush.
That's like
People use.
a dentist stick.
Yeah. Also, you're right on, and there's that last bit of that is remembering, and you brought this up last time we talked about this. Just I've learned this that also when you're done with the oil in your mouth, to not spit it in your sink, like that you want to spit that in like either like a jar or in the garbage can. You don't want to, because what it is eventually that pipe is going to get cold, and when it gets cold, it hardens this oil, and it can cause issues in your pipes. I find it to be, I like to spit it into a container only because then you can see all the nasty that you were able to pull out of your gums. It's disgusting. You don't want to swallow that. Yeah. Another one I found that was really fun. It was kind of like almost like one of those, I would call it an accident if I believed in those things. There's something going around on the internet where people are showing parasites in their mouth and this actually, I debunked this. But yeah, we all have parasites or microorganisms or whatever in our mouths. The bacteria in our mouths are, if you get bitten by a human, it's worse than a rabid dog. Actually, I know that because I worked with aggressive people when I was a social worker. Anyway, is that oh god, was it cranberry juice? Cranberry juice,
Uh-huh.
non-processed cranberry juice. What people are doing is they're putting a mouthful in their mouth, of the cranberry juice in the mouth and swishing it around, and then you spit it out on a plate. Well, what happens while it's in the mouth? It's actually absorbing all of this bacteria and stuff, and it like clots. It looks like your blood's clotted. And so what people are doing though, then they're spitting it on a plate and dumping rubbing alcohol on it, and it moves. Well, that happens when you put it on cranberry juice. Even if you don't put it in your mouth, it moves. But they were trying to see, look, it's a moving worm. Anyway, so even though I debunked it, I discovered this absorbs all of the stuff that's in your mouth. even right after you've brushed your teeth and you're all clean, you still get it. It collects, and it just like a raw onion when you eat it, and it will absorb all of the toxins and stuff. And that's why some people think they're allergic, because it goes right through their system, and it collected enough toxins that it wanted to leave, you know. And so that's another fun thing. Is cranberry juice, unsweetened.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah,
I only eat like the dehydrated ones, but never had the juice.
it's not that great. It tastes like a liquid that doesn't want to be wet.
Sounds
It's weird.
interesting.
Yeah. So you were talking earlier about a topic you wanted to address. You want to talk about that?
Oh yeah,
Um,
we can. I'm just trying to check out what my cat is doing. Okay, it's trying to eat something. Okay.
is everything okay?
Yeah, yeah. I've been hearing some strange sounds in the background, and Fritz is trying to eat something.
I
Okay.
like your cat.
Yeah, like, let's go to the topic. Yeah, like, I'm not going to go into all the details because some of it is personal, but just in general, for me, it's been coming up for some time. So I've been also, I think since November, uh, things like these have been coming up regarding like agitation in the body, traumas, fears, and stuff that we store in the body. It was like coming up in a very subtle way. So, and also in the meantime, I was also doing some medical exams on myself, like blood tests and other stuff. And I found some very interesting things about my body. So in general, I'm really proud of how I manage my stress, fear, and all those negative energies and emotions in general, because when I had my spiritual awakening, I had many experiences that like pushed me to overcome my fear so I can like move to the next level.
Mhm.
And I thought that's great. I'm able to do that. But now I'm finding out in a much more subtle way that I was not just transmuting that fear, but I was like suppressing it and like storing it in my body instead of actually releasing it and processing it properly. And all the tension and all the difficulties that we've been experiencing so far, instead of like properly transmuting it and like releasing it, like some of it was, but I was also suppressing it rather than releasing it. So my body started to store all that pressure and tension. And in the past, I think like half a year or so, I was like, whenever I was like very still and silent, like I could feel this very subtle sense of agitation, like coming up from the deep, I could also feel it in my body, but it was like something very subtle and very, very deep.
Yeah.
And now, as I was doing these medical exams, I recognized that, like, holy shit, like, my body doesn't agree with my methods of working with fear and pressure because, yeah, like, I had quite a few signs in my tests that my body is very agitated.
Mm.
Like, in my blood tests, which one is the stress hormone? I think it's the cortisol,
Oh,
yes.
yes.
So yeah, the my stress hormone, the cortisol, was in the highest high levels, and I was doing that test in the morning, like an hour after sleep, when I was like super chill and relaxed. So I wouldn't even want to imagine what is it like during the day when something stressful happens. And other than that, I also my thyroid was out of balance. Maybe it still is, I'm not sure. And yeah, like we store all our emotions in the throat. And like the throat chakra is connected in the physical plane to the thyroid. And yeah, like that's also out of balance as well. So I have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
I need to work on that as well. Instead of like trying to like manage quote unquote my stress levels or tension in my life, I really have to dig deep and work with it and release it because your body doesn't lie. So
Right.
it sends very clear signals that, hey, like there is something here that you're not doing well, or you should do something about, just because I don't know, like further down the line it can cause problems for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want that.
Right. Our bodies store this stuff, and that's why it's all coming up. It's kind of funny. We were talking the other day, and it came to through a channeling of clarity that this month is very similar to Lionsgate. And what is Lionsgate? Well, there's a cause for Lionsgate being what it is, but the essence of the result is all of the energy is present for us to heal in the most effective way. So all of the things that require healing, speak up. Pick me, pick me, pick me, because now you can, and so when these things are pushing through, just that's what QHHT is. It teaches us, it helps us to discover why there's a out of alignment element in our body, because it starts first in an emotional body, right? And like then you can, once you discover its root, then you can release it, though not always do we know it's there. I'm really glad that you went and did those tests too. You had like real like evidence to so this is actually what's happening. I'm having something very similar. For me, it's like almost like PTSD style flashbacks, but not really bad ones. Just like things of moments of like throughout life. I don't know, just stuff that you maybe used to keep you awake at night or pop in your head before you fall asleep, of like, oh, when they asked me when I was in ninth grade or something, right? They asked you what the capital of a town is, and or a state is, and you said you say the capital letter. I don't know. I'm just making something up, but like something that you would cringe at or feel embarrassed about. And those things are coming up. And I asked Spirit, and they said that we're having a collective end of life review, but they didn't mean it as the end of our life. That's just the word that I understand, that was what it means. And so all this stuff is coming up in our bodies too, unless we acknowledge it and heal and let it heal, let the sunlight of spirit shine on it, then and keep bringing it up out of the shadows. And unless we do that, we can't resolve the issue, the underlying issue, right? So that's why so many of us are having this right now. I think, it has a lot to do with, because healing can be done now. It's the time of healing. We're in the middle. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I want to say like, it's necessary for us moving forward on this journey. Like everything is becoming lighter and more high vibrational, and all these traumas and misalignments, out of alignments in ourselves, like that's holding us back from reaching the next level, basically. Yeah. So we have to put in the work and like push through all those difficult stuff. But yeah, like the good part about it is that now it's like far more easier than maybe 2, 3, or 10 years ago. The energies are like super supportive of this whole healing process. So now is the best time ever to do this.
It is. It's the time where it feels kind of like we are doing this baggage check again. Like we've done this already. I remember the big one that was happening collectively was in 2020, and there's been it's happened since a couple of different times. Where, like, for instance, where it's like as a collective in our ascension experience or our transcendence, whatever it is that you're doing, we move into a train, and at that train, as we enter the train, there's you can only take so many suitcases with you. Your baggage, you have to pick. You have to let some of it go. And each train that we enter, you have less and less bags that you're allotted. So what this feels like to me is just that last phase of, okay, I told you can take a carry-on, but now you got to check that. You can't take this with you. It's a false anchor. It's limiting, and it's not assisting you. So are you ready to look at it now? That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, some of it can be uncomfortable, but yeah, I also been doing this stuff for the past 2 years, like letting go, like belief systems, habits, or even sometimes like very little things that are like no longer in alignment or representative of who I am. But I was like holding on to it because I don't know, like habits, I guess. Like you've been so used to doing things a certain way, but now you recognize that, hey, like this is no longer okay, or this is no longer representative of who I am. So, and I'm very happy that I did let go of all the old stuff. I feel a lot better. So, feels a lot
Yeah.
more in alignment.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you release it, it's actually not that big of a deal. It's like it's just letting it go. Oh, I got a comment. There's no sound. Can you guys hear us okay?
I can hear you well. Not
I
sure.
can
Let me see if there's
hear you.
sound on my PC.
I'm going to keep talking in case there is. I'm assuming there. It might be. There were comments. I just want to quickly, while we're doing this,
Yes.
people had been saying too, not to forget that after you oil pull, to rinse your mouth with salt water. This is very effective. What I'll usually do is I'll get like a glass this size. It'll be about this full of salt water, and it's like a teaspoon of salt. Not a lot. And then what I'll do, you want to rinse it and spit it. So like that whole glass, afterward, you'll find that you'll want more after that, just to drink. So anyway, that was some good comments. We didn't finish that. That is something that. Oh, and also for oil pulling, you do want to do it for at least 10 minutes. Um, I'll go as long as I can, sometimes longer. Okay, they can hear us now. Thank you. Um, so Rosemeadow says, I've been having a lot of fear stuff come forward. Also, I suppressed so much fear for years, and it seems like often it will float up during exercise or in the evenings, and I work out to release. I find this to be really true for me too. Like, it's uh, emotion is stored in the fat is how it works out. Memory and emotion stores itself in our layers of fat. And I'm not saying this as a unkind or a insulting word. It's we all have fat, some have more than others. And I've noticed that um, over the Ascension experience, my body mass has fluctuated quite a lot. And one of those things is that when I get down to um, a lower weight, I'll start to have all of these things from the time when I was about that weight coming up. And so it's
That's
stuff that was stored there.
Yeah, like maybe that's what's coming up for me as well. Like I've been losing a lot of fat in the past 2 months too.
Ah, that makes a lot
Very
of sense.
interesting thing. Yeah, like, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. It's really cool, like, and so when you know what that is, you know that you're just releasing it, and it's a result of that. It and then you'll also notice too the time frame. It'll pop up. It'll be a consistent, like, wow, that was this year of my life. You'll have all the symbolism and the times of that come up. It's really bizarre.
Yeah,
Go
like and
ahead.
also on a side note, like has anyone has been experiencing this like in general in the past few years as I was like integrating more of my other incarnations, my early life in this life and all its memories have been like fading into the background. But now, like this year, in the past few months, like all my childhood memories and like memories about school and all those early years are like coming up like very, very clearly again. It's like almost like coming back to that state in a much more clear and in a new perspective, basically. But yeah, like it's very interesting how it's all coming back to the early years, like since we've been here on in this lifetime. I guess a lot of processing needs to be done on that level too.
Right. No, I've been having it I've actually heard a lot of people um, mention it too. just over the past month or so, I would say, it's become really a common topic. Uh, and it's the same stuff. It's stuff that you wouldn't think that was an issue any longer. And in fact, it's not even that big of a deal usually if you look at it in a logical sense. But it's like all of a sudden feeling the shame and the embarrassment and like just the awkwardness of teenage life. Really, a lot of my stuff is my teenage life that's coming up. So for I saw a comment about it a little while ago too. I'm trying to find it. Someone else.
I just found a really good one from Diane. So yes, my memories get stored in my buttocks.
Oh, there it is. There's
Good one, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, probably some of it, yes.
Right.
Well,
okay. And then
I'm getting some cattail in my mouth. Okay.
I've found that when these things are coming up like they are, what it's designed to do is, because what I used to do naturally was I would recoil, I'd pull away. And what I'm finding is that I'm meant to lean into it. And then when you lean into it, something cool happens, meaning focus on it for a minute. You're not like owning it and taking on the new identity of it. But as I lean into it, all of a sudden, then my guides and different individuals that are presenting themselves for the clearing of it will show me like the perspectives of everybody in the story. So like, let's use an example of being embarrassed, and there's a bunch of people there and you're embarrassed because you were awkward and you did something silly, and like all of a sudden you get to see what they were truly feeling and thinking, this person and this person that you were embarrassed in front of. It gives you the ability just to understand every party involved. And so it then can be released because there's no longer a reason to hold on to it. They weren't really, thinking that you were silly. They were like, or whatever it was, the stuff that we thought they were thinking about us or whatever. And it's things that I didn't even realize I was still holding on to. This is like 30 years ago stuff,
Yeah, some of it's coming up for me as well. But yeah, it's really good to like release those. So I'm very grateful for that.
Here's one, Amanda. Yes, my teenage self coming up, remembering how I felt. I had to fit in. Yeah, a lot of that. A lot of reports about that. Feeling inadequate, defective as a human being, flawed, broken, like not able to fit in or be a part of, or all that kind of stuff that people are talking about. It's not even real, and we're just meant to look at it again so we can see that it's not real. I mean, what are we? We're children in adult bodies, all of us. That's all. And what are children? They're the masters. That through the growing up process, we devolve a little bit, and we're just evolving again, returning back to the childlike state.
Yeah, no, grown-up matter basically. So becoming a child again, but in a more mature way, I guess, or a more integrated way.
Right. Well, there's a responsibility factor that's in play that wasn't before.
Yeah, just as I think Uncle Ben said, like with great power comes great responsibility. So as all the abilities and things that comes online, like there comes a level of responsibility with that as well. Although like there's a very good fail-safe system with all these spiritual abilities, like if you're not in alignment or you're not, I don't like the word worthy, but if you're not in alignment, then most of it just simply won't work because you're not at the proper vibration to actually pull something like that off.
Yeah.
Just as you said, like, I think it was like last year that all the good stuff are like on the highest shelf. so the kids won't be able to reach it until they grow up.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're finding that we're tall enough to reach the, along with that came in, Maddie walked in randomly. She does this. And when it happens like that, she doesn't ever remember what she said. Like to me, it's a real channel state. But she said, you must first open the lock in order to find the key. And that had come from her dream. Someone was singing in her dream and told her that. And that makes so much sense to me, because we are the lock and the key. When you pull out far enough, what you can see is that the gates or the barriers or whatever it is that we look at and see as a hindrance that stops our forward motion, is those are things that we put in place. We put them there, like we put them on a top shelf, because we wanted to be sure that before we could reach those power tools, that we were ready and responsible enough to do it. Can you imagine? I can't, my 5-year-old self having the knowledge that I have now and the ability to use it. I don't know how responsible I would have been.
Yeah, like also, like you can see the example of like overstepping that law or boundary in our world and our society as well, of like having too much knowledge but not having the spiritual maturity to use it in a responsible way. It's like giving a loaded gun to a child, basically. Like that's why we have so much chaos and crap in the world, basically. We have very expensive toys and we don't have the responsible spiritual self to use it.
Right? Can you imagine? Yeah, someone else, Rosa Matter just said that. Can you imagine what she said? Man, imagine being a teenager right now and doing this stuff. Right?
Yeah, that will make life a lot more complicated. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
while you're
so glad
eating in the
for that
library.
period. Yeah.
What was your teenager life like?
I'm very happy that I grew up and I'm an adult now and I can do stuff that I want to do. So when I turned 19, I moved out of my hometown and I was like, bye. Yeah, got a job, went to college and did my own stuff. And I really started to enjoy life since then. So,
Oh, yeah. Teenagerhood wasn't bad for me. I didn't dislike it exactly. I enjoyed school a lot, but I enjoyed it because of it. I didn't get to go to school before then. I always thought that school was like the missing ingredient that made me normal, that other people had that I didn't. So when I started school in 9th grade, so I was 14 when I started school. I struggled scholastically because I didn't even know how to read when I started school. As a 14-year-old, I didn't even know how to spell my last name. My last name is hard. It's not difficult. It's Hard. And so in that way I did have some struggles, but I don't know, because I think I wanted it so bad that I enjoyed it. I remember even commenting to my peers, this is the time that people will look, or usually adults will look back on and say, they wish they could have done again. And I'm enjoying it while I'm in it. I would say, though, I don't want to do it again. Like, I had fun. It was good. It was enjoyable for me. I fit into every crowd, and I didn't have a clique, so I fit everywhere. I hung out with the people who did D&D in the library, and I hung out with the only people I didn't hang out with were the athlete guys, like the cheerleaders and the jocks. I didn't get along with them very well. I was, but I don't know. I think that the difference is that I had my near-death experience when I was 4, and people already, like, they came to me. It was weird. People would line up at lunch and want to talk to me. It was the most bizarre thing. Anyway, What was I like as a teenager? I was trying to answer my own question. I don't know. I feel like the same person. I don't feel like I was much different.
On
I don't
mine,
know.
I'm not sure. I was very confused about all stuff in life, and like who I am or who I want to be.
Yeah.
Didn't fit in anywhere. So yeah, weird years. I'm happy it's over.
That's really common. It's really common among starseeds. Most people. I think that I have a unique experience only because I craved it so much for so much of my earlier life before school started. But um, though there was a lot of things that the not fitting in part that came in after high school for me, of like, because then I have to be this responsible person, and all this stuff. And I never fit into the 9 to 5 world. I never fit into that career world. And so for that, I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. But um,
Yeah, like someone said, like I was very rebellious. Yeah,
yeah,
that was definitely me. I'm still very rebellious.
yeah.
Just people around me learned how to live with me, so and how to manage me.
So does reverse psychology work on you? You probably already know it's reverse psychology, so it doesn't work on you, huh?
Yeah. But my wife found a way in a very good way. So it's not tricking me or anything. She just knows how to work with me. So
Yeah. Well, you have a
girls
really
are very
awesome.
yeah, girls are very smart and they know you a lot better than yourself. So especially if they like
You have a really fun story. Not that I'm asking you to tell it if you don't want to or anything, but I love the connection that you have with your family, and that you have been, um, you found such a beautiful uh, soul to connect with. You know, it's been fun to, because this isn't a common thing. That's one of the most I'm getting misty eyed talking about that. I love that you have your wife. Um,
yeah,
I
I
one
enjoy you.
Yeah, I bet you do. Because that's one of the most common stories. These people will come in and be like, "I'm doing the awakening, or I'm transcending, or whatever it is they're doing," and my husband or my wife or my girlfriend or my boyfriend or whatever it is, there's conflict, and there's always a negotiation. Even if there's conflict, there's some type of negotiation, and it's just sacrificing, and they don't get to be themselves all the way or whatever. And you're a rare story. Like, how did you even find her?
I don't know, like I wasn't searching for her. Like when I was younger, like of course I also wanted to be in a relationship and all that stuff. But after I had my spiritual awakening, I kind of like let that go. I was like, okay, like that's like not important.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on my mission and like do my stuff. And if something like that comes up, then I'm okay with that. But it was absolutely not a priority. And all of a sudden, she just came into my life, and we were friends. I think for like a year or so. After I really started to have very strange feelings towards her, I was like, I didn't know how to explain it. It was like I feel a certain type of way towards everyone, but when I think of her, like I feel a different type of way. So like I get a different vibe from her than from the rest of the world. And I started to recognize like, oh, like I believe this is something else, you know.
You're falling in
I'm
love.
not sure. Yeah, I'm in love. Yeah, and I think like I proposed to her. I think like 1 or 2 years after we got together. I'm not sure. But yeah, like I think like not even 3 years have passed, and we're already married. So yeah, like it went pretty quickly. We also
Wow.
moved together like in the first few months. My mom was like, I just like brought up, oh yeah, like we just moved together, and like I was like talking about it like it's like completely normal, and she was like, but you didn't even tell me anything about it, so just comes all of a sudden. Yeah,
And
it went
you've never done anything like
relatively.
that before. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, like it went relatively quickly, and I think we've been together for like 12 years now, I think. Like next year is going to be 10 years that we are married. So,
Wow.
yay, we're going to have a celebration.
Hooray. Yeah, there's like every one of those anniversaries, there's there like one of them's like a diamond one and one of them's a silver one. I don't remember. There's like this whole thing that people talk about.
Yeah,
But
like 50 is the golden, 25, I think, is the silver. And if you get over 50, then you get like the super uber diamond achievement award for somehow getting to that point in life. I think it's like 70 or something, like being married for 70 years. I'm not sure. But yeah, I not many people reach that point.
yeah. Well, I mean, being married and happy for 10 years is a big deal. It's a really big deal,
I mean,
you
it's
know?
had its own challenges as well. So, but yeah, I'm very happy that like we pushed through all the challenges and we're able to still stay together. But yeah, because we had also difficult times and periods, but managed to navigate it together. Especially that whole COVID lockdown thingy. That yeah, like it was a very difficult period.
That put a lot of stress on many relationships, that lockdown.
Yeah, I think like that was like a record year for how do you call
Uh-huh.
it, divorce?
Yeah, the
It's
divorce
just
lawyers
I heard
were rolling in it.
so divorces. Yeah, I think also William Shatner. You know, like the original. What's his name from Star Trek?
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk. Yeah, the Captain Kirk guy. He got divorced at the 93. So
Wow.
it's never too late to get a divorce, I guess.
I guess so. Holy cow. You'd figure at that point you're just like, whatever, just stay in a different room. You know, like
Yeah.
wow. That's crazy. Yeah, you hear a lot of stories and I just like to it's fun to because do you mind that I'm being this asking you about your relationship? Can I ask you more questions? Is that all right?
Well, you can if you want to, yeah.
Um, so would you consider her your twin flame or your soulmate, or what word would you if you want to, you don't have to put a label on it if you don't want to.
I know, like I call her my divine feminine counterpart. I think like that's much more fitting.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, and also some side notes, very interesting. Like she's been starting to have in the last year, like guardian-esque type experiences on the astral, which she didn't have before. So I'm not sure what's happening to her.
Wow.
Intense energies are rubbing off on her. I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but yeah, like we do have a pretty big influence over each other. Like if one of us is like experiencing some kind of sickness or discomfort or anything very small, like the other half is feeling it as well. So the up and down side of our relationship is like if there's like a little bit of friction between us, then it's like it's very bad. Like it's a very bad vibe and energy between us. And
Yeah.
it's like kind of forces us to like work it out so we can like move forward with our day. Maybe frictions like that would be like completely normal for other couples and just wouldn't think about it. But for us, it's like a super stressful and uncomfortable place to be. So, which
Yeah.
forces us to like not let it be something more or bigger.
Right. Well,
I
that
just
makes a
got
lot
a
of
text from her that I shouldn't go through our daughter's room because she's sleeping. Okay, so
and you have a daughter between the two of you.
yeah, yeah. Like, and when we got together in 2013, like we knew that we were going to have a daughter, but we didn't know when she was going to come. And she came 6 years afterwards, so we got a big heads up.
So you started to communicate with her spiritually speaking before she was even you even conceived the child.
Yeah, like it was mostly in 2013. After that, it like completely ceased to be. I like always
Interesting.
saw her like a 3-year-old little girl, and we had quite a few experiences, mostly on the ships
Yeah.
up in orbit. And yeah, after that, I didn't really have experiences with her. And when she got pregnant, we went to the first exam, and the doctor said it's going to be a boy. And both of us were like, what? Like, and we're so like, we are going to have a baby, and we're so disappointed that it's going to be a boy. And like 3 months later, the doctor said it's going to be a girl. I'm like, yes, yes, we knew it,
Yeah.
yes.
That's fun. That's fun. I had a similar experience, but just like flashes of like when almost it felt like deja vu when I was just doing my day, and and then fast forward, I didn't really make anything of it. I always thought, why do I keep seeing this little blonde girl? Because I was told I wasn't
Mhm.
supposed to be able to get pregnant. So um, anyway, fast forward, I started to have the moments, and she was about between two, and she was 2 and 3 was when I would see her. That was, and I started to see the moments that I had seen all those years before. And I just didn't know that was my child. I thought, I'm going to be hanging out with a little girl. That's so cool.
Yeah,
So,
like I
what's it?
also heard that like more advanced civilizations or more evolved species, like they're far more conscious of this whole family relationship happening, like you choosing your family, being in contact with your children before they are born, or even your child choosing their own name, which represents their own theme in life as well. Like we had that too. Like we wanted
She
to name
chose her
her
name.
Anna. Yeah, she chose her name. We wanted to name her Anna and Zoe. And she was supposed to be born, I think, a bit earlier, and she was late. And the doctor said that if she's not going to be born by, I don't know, like Monday next week, then like they're going to start the whole process of birth.
Mhm.
And she waited up until I think it was Monday or so, and she was born. It happened very quickly, and someone congratulated me, and she said that, hey, like, did you know that she was born on the day of Anna as well? So she wanted to name her Anna, and she was waiting for that day
Oh,
to be born.
wow.
Yeah, and also she was born on the 26th of July, which is the first day, I don't know after how many months, that the star Sirius rises on the morning sky. It signals the new year in the ancient Egyptian and Mayan calendar as well. That's when the Nile starts to flood, and that's when we're in alignment with the star Sirius. So she was waiting for that day.
Wow. That's really cool. It's fascinating because and then your wife, whether or not she fully embraces or not, is in the awakening with you. Like she's having guardian experiences. I mean, I know that there's been a lot of sharing and understanding in this, and then for you two to have a child, then who is also a star seed, obviously, and for
Oh
her to be
yeah.
born in such significant time. Like I feel like if your story feels like a rare, or at least rarely spoken of, union, and it's just such a cool story.
Yeah, like it's also interesting. I think it was on the period like I seen a post. There's a mentee, the Awakener, like she's sharing a lot of stuff with ancient Egyptian culture. And like on the 26th of July, the ancient Egyptians celebrated the rebirth of the gods. And like that's when Horus was born from the union of Isis and Osiris. And that's the day she chose to be born. So yeah.
Wow, that's cool. And she held out till the last second, right before they were going to induce, because they
Absolutely.
didn't have to
Yeah.
induce, right?
I'm not sure how it works, but she was born like I think at like after 11 a.m. or something. So
Yeah.
relatively in the morning.
But she initiated the birth rather than the doctors, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it started around 5 a.m. in the morning, and like in a few hours, it was just, whoop, there she is.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. You know, there's something about that too. I love looking at birth stories because if you go back to your birth story or someone's birth story, you'll see in their birth story is echoed through their life. Like there's elements that maybe you don't see right away, but you know, as they grow and mature, you know, so it sounds like she's somebody that waits, and then when she's ready to do it, she does it all the way. You know, like when she's ready, get out of the way. That's kind of what the personality of your daughter sounds like to me too.
Yeah, like that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I haven't thought of that, but yeah, like that's definitely characteristic of her.
Yeah. That's
She's
awesome.
like waiting on stuff, like, and you're like nagging her, like, come on, like, do it already, like, come on, get dressed, or we have to go, we have to go. She's like,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm still singing about something else and being in the clouds, and all of a sudden she just like does it, and she's ready. Okay, we have
Yeah,
to learn patience.
that's fun. That's Is there any tips or tricks you could give anyone who's a parent with such a um, brilliant light as your daughter? Like, is there anything guidance that you would, if you had to pick your favorite suggestions, like, is there anything that you would want to tell people to do that would help them?
Well, I think we had quite a few discussions with my wife about like we knew like she's going to be, I don't know, like people call it a star seed or crystal child, however you want to call it. And like we had many discussions like how we are going to like handle this whole situation. And we kind of agreed upon that like we are not going to force anything upon her. We would just like try to like reinforce the positive aspects of things and try to help her navigate these things in a grounded way in life. And yeah, like that's kind of about it. Sometimes I'll still tell her like random stories about these things or show her stuff about, I don't know, like stars and planets or how things work in nature, or she's very interested. I mean, I wouldn't say she's religious, but she really enjoys going to church and like it's something more that she does with her mom. Like I'm not religious, but yeah, like she has many questions about like what happens after death, or and she was like questioning me about this like when she was like 3, of like what happens during when you die, or what happens after you die, or where do people go after death and all that stuff. Like she was very, very obsessed about this topic for quite some time. And yeah, like I shared quite a lot of information with her regarding this, like at least what I know about the process. And like I
Yeah.
didn't want to like shy away from it. And like, yeah, like this is part of life as well. And like, yeah, like we have to accept it and like prepare for it in a certain way. Because yeah,
Yeah.
like grandparents are getting old or anything can happen in life. And I don't want her to be like afraid of it, or I
Yeah.
don't know how to say it. Because like that's part of life as well. Like we don't cease to exist if we pass on. We just like maybe you won't be able to communicate or interact with your loved ones in the same manner, but they don't cease to exist. And like
Yeah.
that's kind of what I wanted her to understand, that she doesn't have to be afraid of it. It's just like a necessary change after a time.
Yeah. And for her to be so fixated on it at such a young age tells you that there's something more there, you know, that she
Yeah.
was still connected somehow.
Yeah. I think it talked about like other lives and that like there are many stars and all the stars have planets around them. There are like other people on other star systems, things like that. So we're just not alone here. There are many, many, or the human beings live in other places as well, not just here.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's awesome. And she's a brilliant little girl too. Like from what, you know, you've shared with me, it's really, I mean, for those of you in the audience, you may not know, Guardian doesn't speak in an English speaking place in the world at all. Like he speaks so well that we will often forget that this isn't, he doesn't live in an English speaking country. In fact, does
Although my
anyone in your
English is very good right now, so I'm a bit tired, and then my English is like, I have a low virtual memory right now.
Oh, you're doing amazing. Yeah. Does anyone in your
Thank you very
family
much.
speak it? Does anyone?
No, not really. Like some of them understand it but don't speak it. Or
Oh,
if they
that's crazy.
do say something in English, it's very odd because they're not used to speaking in English.
So your experience with speaking English is solely online,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
absolutely. I don't have anyone here to speak in English.
Wow. Like that's brilliance right there. And the fact that your daughter, it's my point here is your daughter's obviously inherited this intelligence. It's going to be really fun to see what she does when she
So,
gets older.
oh yeah, like she also sees stuff from time to time. I think like we talked about it like a few years ago. Although she didn't report anything recently, but yeah, like we also try to like, I wouldn't say like reinforce, but like give her the sensation that like that is okay or that is normal, like or what she sees or experiences, like she doesn't have to be fearful of it.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, like curious beings or energies like come in and like they're curious about us or something, and they just move on, and you don't have to be afraid of it. Or if you don't enjoy it, you just simply like say you don't want them to be there and they will leave. So yeah,
Yeah.
starting to assist them in learning that. Although going in, yeah, like this fall we're going to school, and I guess like I will have to teach her some energy protection work for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's
And
old enough for it, I think.
hygiene, like just simply getting the energy off of you because you're gonna get some of it's gonna get stuck on you at least a little bit. You know how to clean that
Mhm.
off. You know, that's so smart. We learned. I so this is something I learned about with Maddie is that uh, the easiest way for her, for my daughter as a child to do these types of cleansings is in the act of dance. But we have certain types of songs that we'll listen to. It's not like rock or something, but it's like um, there's the one I actually have on my YouTube channel as it's called Breathe. That's one of the ones that we do the most. But when you're doing it, you're doing energy work with your hands, and you're like clearing off energy, and it seems to be much more effective for her age group, or starting when she was about 5, until she still does it that way. It works better for her when she's dancing versus sitting still. So that's just
Mhm.
something to keep in mind. I mean, everybody's different, but I think she just has so much energy, my daughter, that sitting still, like gets distracted and wants to go wander off and check this stuff out in this dimension and stuff, and forgets that we're clearing, you know. So
Yeah, like for each and every one of us, like something else will work. We're all unique, and like yeah, just experiment and like see what happens.
yeah, yeah. Well, this was so much fun talking to you. I just realized that it's probably freaking late where you're at. You probably need to go to bed. Huh? I kept you too long, didn't I?
Yeah, I will be going to bed. Yeah, although we're having a full moon, so I'm not sure how I'm going to sleep, but I will do my best.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this. This is a fun conversation. I always really enjoy connecting with you, Guardian. Thank you I'm
Yeah,
glad
me
you
as
were able to
well.
make it.
Yeah, like I think we never had as much resistance or problems before starting a live event ever.
Yeah.
Especially on both ends. I was like, yeah, 20 minutes before we started, I was like, okay, like this is not going to work. There's no way, but still it did. So wow,
Yeah.
I'm glad.
None of us got knocked off. We just had a delay, and that's it. Like that was really it was supposed to happen. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's here today. Um, there's all, if you're watching the replay, know that, there's a lot of just looking in the audience. And I also put up everyone's comments, unless they were talking to each other. I usually try not to grab the ones that say at somebody. You'll see that there's a lot of ascension symptoms happening right now, and a lot of us are having them. They're stronger right now. There's a lot of energy moving through. So if you're experiencing this, maybe try some of the tips that we talked about. Ground, if you can go out barefoot, depending on how cold it is in your area, there's a lot of different things that you can do to connect and to just release. And of course, above all else, if you can rest. So is there any other suggestions that you want to give before we close?
Yeah, like just slow down if you feel that it's too much. Just try to slow down, and just as Pamela said, just try to rest, and like it will pass. I feel like all these symptoms or this heaviness like comes in waves. It may fluctuate several times a day. So if you feel that you're super heavy, like even today, I had like my wife and daughter left to the dentist, and I felt I still needed to work, but it was silence in the house, and I was like, I have to go to bed. Like I cannot sit. I have to go to bed. And I think I slept like half an hour or so, but seriously, I couldn't keep my eyes open. And thank goodness that I had the opportunity to sleep a bit. But yeah, I guess like some recalibration and recharging is like happening during those periods. But it felt really good. After that, I got like a reset, so it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good suggestion. If you can, at least close your eyes for a moment, even if it's just for a moment. It has we're in recovery when we're at rest, right? Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Guardian. I'm not sure when we're gonna have Guardian back on again. I know we're gonna connect again at some point. We do regularly whenever we can, and so I look forward to our next conversation.
Yeah, me as well. We will see each other in April.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah. Cool.
Great. Well, I'm sending you all so much love. I hope blessings. Bye.
Sending much love to you as well. It was great to see you all, and have a great day. Bye.